Welcome back to the channel. My name's Adam Smith, and inside this game unboxing video, I am very excited to be checking out the collector's edition for Slay the Spire, the board game, coming from Contention Games. Slay the Spire, the board game, was the #3 solo game of 2024, voted on by the Rolling Solo board game community. That's you, the viewers watching right now. And so if you're interested in this one, being that you might have missed the original crowdfunding campaign, you'll find a link in the pinned comment and video description to Contention Games store, where they're taking pre-orders for the collector's edition, or for the standard edition, or for any of the accessories that came as part of the crowdfunding campaign. Now, there might be some exclusives that will not be trickling through there. I can't specify that myself, as I've only just taken a brief look at the actual shop itself to ensure that they actually are there and can be added to the cart for individuals that are interested in this one. But it is worth mentioning, we will be bringing this one to the channel. I'm very excited to show you guys this game in action if you're looking to see how it flows and operates. But this video is going to focus on showing you all the components that come inside the collector's edition. Slay the Spire, the board game, is a cooperative deck building adventure. So if you're looking for an adventure and you love deck building, this could absolutely be the game for you. You're going to craft a unique deck, you're going to encounter bizarre creatures, discover relics of immense power, and finally become strong enough to slay the Spire. Now, it's entirely possible that somebody watching has never heard of Slay the Spire before, and for that individual or individuals, it came from a video game first. The video game was launched, it's a roguelite, very popular, and has a massive following behind it. Many inspirations for other games have come from it, and this is a tabletop adaptation of it. And typically, these adaptations of a video game don't always land in such high regard. Sometimes they're really good, sometimes they're really bad, but other times, special games crack through and get into the upper tier of a given year. That is this one. So without further ado, let's dive inside the box and I'll show you all the components that come in the collector's edition of Slay the Spire, the board game. When you first open up the box lid, you're greeted with the rulebook right off the top, and underneath that, you then have a storage guide, which is super handy because you can see exactly how everything gets back inside the box once you've ripped through things. Love seeing stuff like that. Flipping over to the opposite side, you see sleeved cards. Also, again, points back to the Steam release of Slay the Spire for those that have not seen that already, which would be very shocking to me, but it is possible. And then you've got the upgrades and items reference book here. We'll take a look through both of the booklets in a second. And then after that, you get down to the punch boards, and we'll certainly go through those. There is a couple stickers in here, which are used to likely correct a couple things that happened through the crowdfunding campaign. We're now heading inside the rulebook, and you'll see on the left-hand side, Slay the Spire is a deck builder, as I mentioned before. That means that each player starts with a simple deck of cards that can improve by adding and removing cards during the game. And the game is also roguelike. That means that when you die, and as it mentions, you will die, you start over from the beginning, but you take the lessons you've learned to try yet again. It's got the playtime there, your first game there, a little mention around it, the winning and losing conditions. Components listed on the right, but we're going to take an up-close look at all these components as we go through the video. The game can be set up in 13 steps, as you can see on the left-hand side, and once you get into Acts 2 and 3, then there's specific steps you must do. At the very bottom left-hand corner, you'll see on the right-hand side an example of the setup on the table. These two pages touch on the play area and your deck. Of course, your deck going to be a key element of the gameplay. The play area showing the exhaust pile, the items, your dashboard, draw pile, discard pile, powers, and all the things that relate and actually are on that dashboard. You'll see things like energy, you'll see down the bottom block, and then HP, tracker cubes used to keep track of all those. As we continue onwards, we start seeing rewards and the map, and there's lots of specific details on these pages for both of them. So you'll see card rewards, upgraded card rewards, rare rewards, potions, relics, boss relics, gold, all the things you come to expect from Slay the Spire universe. The map on the right-hand side talks about the different icons you're going to see along the map, like the encounters, elites, the events, the campfire, the treasure, the merchant, the boss, and the boss, of course, is what you're striving to get to take down in a particular act. For those intrigued by combat, here is the combat setup. We see the encounter setup, the enemy cards, elite setup, and boss setup. When you get to pages 12 and 13, you've made it to the halfway point of the rulebook, and you'll be seeing the combat round for the player turn listed out and the combat round for the enemy turn listed out. It's nice to know this rulebook isn't massive. You can consume this quite quickly and get right into the gameplay. A handful of pages in, you get to the 4 you can select from. You have the Ironclad, the Silent, the Defect, and the Watcher. If you're new to the game, the Ironclad and the Silent are recommended. Next up will be the Defect, and then after that, the Watcher is the most complex. Now these pages toward the end of the rulebook are very cool. We have the unlocks, the ascension, the achievements, the daily climb, all the things you're going to want to try and achieve on your journey to slay the Spire. The final 2 pages of the rulebook talk about Act number 4. You'll see it must be unlocked. In order to enter Act 4, you have to obtain 3 keys by the end of Act 3. You need the Ruby key, the Sapphire key, and the Emerald key to actually get into Act number 4. The quick start rules there. In the very bottom left-hand corner, there's a table as well. And on the right-hand side, you got the golden rule, optional rules like the last stand, sequential turns, and choosing your relic. And on the back of the rulebook, you have the abilities and keywords, a nice handy reference to have while playing through the game. Moving on to the next booklet, this is called the Upgrades and Items book. It has the Ironclad upgrades all laid out. Next up, you can see the Silent upgrades across the 2 pages. After that, we have the Defect upgrades. And the last of the 4, the Watcher upgrades. Here we have colorless upgrades, and as they state here, they need to be unlocked, and then the relics all on the right. And the back page of the booklet has boss relics and potions listed out. Now on the very top of the game box, as you saw, there was a punch board, and it's actually just a single punch board, which is quite nice, makes it easy to get through. So here is a look at one side of it. I'll flip it over to the opposite side so you can see if there's any differences. Now what's awesome about this collector's edition is it does in fact have the space necessary to get the components into an organized state. You can see here we got a token tray which sits nicely in here. Again, it's empty for now, but it won't be for very long. Underneath that we have some dice, a dice bag, there's tokens in there. We've got some other boards to go through. I'm going to pull these boards out first. We'll take a close look at those, and then we'll dig a little further inside the box. This next board is called the Merchant board, and on the opposite side, there is a player aid, which shows the combat round, a full breakdown of the player turn, the enemy turn, the icons you'll run into as you go through the game, and more specifically the icons for the map on the far right, things like enemies, elite, events, merchants, treasure, and campfire. Next up, we have the player dashboards for all 4 you can choose between. You'll also see recessed areas on these dashboards for the collector's edition. So you'll see slots for the cubes across HP. They're all by numerical number, so you actually ensure the cube stays where it should be. Block and energy will be able to slide across those bars. And then you've got your artwork on the far right-hand side, but you also have artwork on the back of these as well. So you can see as well as a little bit about that particular character, the Ironclad here. Next up, we have the Silent, and then we have the Defect, and finally after the Defect we have the Watcher. And this very small board here is known as the HP board. Now with those components out of the way, we start to see further inside the insert, and at the very top here you'll see a number of playmats for each of the player characters, so we'll pull those out and I'll show you each of them as part of the collector's edition. We also have a very nice looking drawstring bag we saw earlier. We'll pull that out as well, some dice and trackers here, along with some translucent cubes and other markers. Here's a look at the very first neoprene mat inside the box. Looks pretty awesome. There is some edge wrinkling there, but that's very easy to actually flatten out. Just put a heavy box on top of it for one night, and it will be flat as a board for the next day. This thing has things like encounters being placed on it, the summon act. You also see event acts up there with a question mark. You've got the status deck where you can see the elemental icons, and the days deck in the bottom left-hand corner. So you've got slots for a number of different things. Again, this is going to be a nice to have as part of the collector's edition. Not required. Normally these would just be laid out as part of setup, but now you have a place to put these. Now for the neon mats for the player characters, we have the Ironclads mat, the exhaust, player board, draw, and discard area, as well as a play area above. The next player mat is the Silent, same layout, very different artwork. And now the Defects player mat, looking pretty awesome. And last but certainly not least, we have the Watchers play mat. All the components on the left-hand side of the box are now strewn out all over the table here. We have a wooden die, which is very nice. We have this marker in a boot. We have a number of markers of varying colors, but these actual metal coins are extremely nice. I'm going to show you these up close because they actually are that nice. You'll see the grooves inside of them. Very well done, very high quality. These are 5s, and then they've got the smaller variations down below, and they also have quite a bit of very cool detail to them as well. I'm a big fan of these. Very nice looking. The top tier has now been removed. It's worth mentioning that top tier has nice half moon grooves for all the playmats to ensure that they all stay exactly where they should be. So a very nice clear cut top for this insert down below, which you can see is full of all kinds of cards and sleeves, miniatures, all kinds of stuff. Now we're going to go through a number of these, maybe not through every single card pack, but we'll certainly take a look at the different sleeves. We'll open up some of the card packs here, show you the miniatures up close, some of the game components that are hidden around in here, but you can see this insert, being that it's a collector's edition, is quite nice. At this point, I've opened up a number of the packs of cards, but there's still more to go through. But some of these cards you're not supposed to open until instructed to do so. And I'm also not going to show you absolutely every card because I don't want to spoil everything that this game has for you. You can see a number of decks down here I haven't opened yet. A small mini card deck I haven't opened over there, as well as one back there. These are all the sleeves you saw moments ago. Inside of this tray here, we saw these. And then if you go further, there's more cards that we're not supposed to touch right now, and that goes down below. So there's all kinds of little pockets tucked away inside this insert, but this should hopefully give you a great idea as to the types of contents you're going to find inside the collector's edition box. And that, my friends, wraps up the game unboxing video for Slay the Spire, the board game, the Collector's Edition, coming from Contention Games. If you're interested in this one, and this unboxing maybe piqued your interest, you'll find in the pinned comment and video description a link to the Contention Games store, where I found they're taking pre-orders for that future reprint. If you want to get your hands on the game, that might be the best opportunity. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know in the comments down below if you're one of those people that already have the game from the crowdfunding campaign and you're enjoying it to date. I know a large number of individuals from my community are, so I'd love to hear more about your thoughts on this one, and even from people that might have tried it and it wasn't their cup of tea. I'd like to also hear their thoughts as well. We'll share all below and help other people find games they may be interested in. Thank you guys for watching, and as always, keep on rolling solo.